Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Mase Riney. Find me on Twitter at CaliKing49er17. With me on the IDP Hunter podcast. Well, of course, it's IDP Hunter. What's up, Steve?
What's going on, buddy?
Special show today. We're talking fast draft, not because of fast draft, not to discredit them. Talking to a good friend of mine, good friend of yours, Steve, someone that we've kind of looked up into the game in the past, and now we're on common ground with him. He stepped away for a little while. Now he's kind of back poking his head out. Jordan Rains, what's up, bro?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on. It feels good to be back in the captain's chair of the podcast desk. I'm talking to some good people about some good stuff. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, Mase, if I may, you said same level. There's tiers with every ranking system. This guy's top tier. He's caviar, he's steak, he's lobster. We're cheeseburgers, man. Let's be real.
Hey, cheeseburgers are fire, bro.
Right.
Jordan Rains helped. He's the grandfather of IDP. Jordan Rains helped set up the 1, 2, 3 scoring as we know it. What'd you do, Jordan? You contacted Sleeper. You said, let's get this lined up for everybody.
Yeah, that was like 2019, I think, 18 or 19, when Sleeper was still not quite so popular. And it was early days of being on the platform. And I remember back then it was a little easier to get a hold of people. And I just happened to know a guy who was, helping on the back end of the app. And I noticed that they didn't have any sort of standardized IDP scoring. And then I realized that nobody really did. And I thought, hey, this is a good in as Sleeper gets bigger, as IDP grows. If we could establish something with them, that would add credibility, that would add, user friendliness, because it's already set up there. It just makes ease of use. So I workshopped the numbers for, I don't know, it was like several months. And just came up with that scoring system based on 1, 2, 3 points. And I pitched it to the guy, and he put me in contact with somebody else, and we got it all set up in their system. And yeah, so that was kind of my big contribution early on in IDP fantasy, to really sort of help get legs under it. It was a little wobbly, a little shaky there for a while, but I think it's grown a lot since then, honestly.
Extremely. In the last 5 years alone, it's gone up like 4 or 5% easy just on the platform. Not just European players playing more. I remember when I used to play, be like Australia, Germany guys. Now we got people in the mainstream that want to know about this IDP. Mm-hmm. Question on your 1, 2, 3 scoring. I've heard this story before. I don't know if you can tell it online. You're at work. I think you're an inspector. You're singing a song, right? You had this song in your head, and it helped you. Helped you create 1, 2, 3 score. I'll let him tell it.
That's a deep cut. Okay, so I worked at this lab, and I do remember this. I was listening. It was Michael Jackson, or the Jackson 5. It was ABC, easiest 1, 2, 3. And in my head, I was like, man, that just rhymes. I was like, that's the problem with IDP. I was like, there's no branding in it, number one, and there's no scoring. So I was like, so you got to fix 2 problems. You got to make IDP sound interesting, and you got to brand some sort of scoring that people remember it. And I was like, IDP. Easiest 1, 2, 3. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, if I can retrofit the defensive actions into a 1, 2, and 3 point scoring system, I was like, that's it. And so, like I said, that set me on that journey, and it took me a few months to kind of tweak with, sacks at 1, sacks at 2, sacks at 3, got sacks to 6, and there are 6-point plays, but that's all makes sense, but figuring out what stats could be pigeonholed into that system I still think it's just probably the best one. There's a few other scoring systems. I know Big 3 is really, really similar. And I know Fantasy and Frames had a scoring system for a while. It was very similar. I mean, they're only like a half a point to a point different on 1 or 2 things. And that was my goal with IDP 1, 2, 3. I was like, what are the most common scoring? Because a lot of people already had good scoring systems. So I was like, what are the good scoring systems already look like? So how can we pigeonhole it into this? And yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah, like a lightning flash moment just at a random day at work. But
I tell you, Mase, 1, 2, 3 is so fun. Just like the bigger leagues that we play in, especially when we're trying to balance offense and defense. And it doesn't have to be, like Jordan always says, doesn't have to be 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. It could be 2, 4, 6, 3, 6, 9, whatever you want to relate to offset your offense and defense. Yep. Guys, we're going down the unknown here. We're talking about this fast draft. The scoring's different. We're bringing in people that we haven't talked to in years. What's your thoughts on this?
Me, man, the fast draft is crazy. Like, one, it's crazy just to have a platform where you can win money and not sports gamble. I don't know what the right terminology is, but you can play real money fantasy games with defensive players in a high quality, user experience and a high quality platform. That's awesome. Like we were just saying, like we're 5 years ago, this was almost unheard of thought-wise.
Unheard of.
So that's awesome. Their scoring system is a little different. It's definitely favors the defensive line players just because they kind of neutered the tackle guys, you know. They kind of made that a little bit low scoring. I think it's like 1.5 a point. So some of those guys that are only tackle guys, they can't really compete in this scoring format, but so what? You know, I mean, that's fantasy football. There's guys on offense that can't compete in certain formats. You know, goal line running backs. Who wants them? Nobody. Who needs them? Nobody. You know, so you just adapt to the game that's set before you, and you know, this is an awesome thing that's happening in the fantasy community, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's something that kind of coming into the game 2018, 2019 that I really wanted and was looking for. I'm always, you know, you see DFS, you see the Sunday stuff you can do. You can bet and do all kinds of things now, but there's really not a lot. Even IDP or just player props in general for defensive players are hard to come by. You got to really know the ins and outs of the system to kind of figure out where to bet those kind of plays. So doing something like this is really good, and it's kind of unique in the fact that you only get a certain amount of time per pick. Is it 20 seconds you get per pick?
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah, so you got to have your rankings down. You got to know the scoring. And then also, it's the Wild Wild West. There's only 6 rounds, so there are things that add to your hands like injury and I don't know, just guys just not even playing towards the end of the year. Maybe you get a veteran towards the end. So there's really a lot of spice going on in this contest.
You nailed it. You nailed it. There's only 6 rounds, 10 teams, 60 players. I mean, how hard is that? Like, you know, just trying to pinpoint the best players out there. It's so cool seeing you guys in there. You know, I log in, you'll see IDP Hunter, you'll see Mase on there. Jordan actually has a promo code Mase for anybody who matches $50 and they type in promo code IDP Army. It's so neat seeing that again, IDP Army. They'll match $50. So how cool is that? A $10 contest, you put $50 in, you get 10 shots at this thing.
Yeah, and it's not a super big pool. You know, I think this contest, the prize pool is decent, but the number of people in it, I think it's only 1,000 teams. So I mean, 10 teams in that pool it's a less than 1% chance, but I mean, it's not nothing. I mean, it's better odds than a lot of the other tournaments you're going to see.
For sure.
Just to get your money back, but even to win is going to be half decent if you draft, using some simple logic, which, again, this is kind of uncharted territory, but being analytical and being thoughtful about it and really sort of looking into it. I think there's a lot of edges. I think we're going to talk about one big edge you can have in this contest. Just looking at this board right now, the draft strategy that, we talked about before we came on that I'm going to talk, promote or push or think that I think is the best. Nobody did in this draft, So if you can kind of adapt your mind to finding these edges and trying to exploit them, I think that somebody we know is probably gonna take this one down.
So Jordan, do you lean towards like the following of ADP and something like this, or do you think that in the last 3 to the 6th round that you need to kind of like take your stab and be different with your kind of a roster breakup as far as player names go?
I'm with you with the ADP. I kind of stick with close to it for the first 3 rounds. But once you get to that 4th round, there starts to be a little bit more. I'm gonna get a little bit more picky, a little more choosy. And I'm definitely not confined to the guys that are being drafted by the consensus in that area. There's plenty of guys in the top 60 that I think are completely undraftable, which is crazy to say. But there's some that I'm just like, I just would never ever put them on my team. They just don't make sense to me. And that's part of the, in this contest because it's still shaking out, I mean, people are still finding gems, you just keep scrolling down, things keep happening. So yeah.
So let me pick your brain here, guys. I'm reading the first round. 1.1 Parsons went, 1.2 Garrett went, 1.3 Watt. Usually see those guys in some order, followed by 1.4 Will Anderson, 1.5 Aiden Hutchinson, oh boy, I don't even want to know that. 1.7 Edgerrin Cooper, and then 1.8 Max Crosby, followed by Trey Hendrickson, Nick Bosa, Zaire Franklin. Anything in there unusual? Anything peculiar? I know what I'm looking at, but what do you guys think?
I see 2 things that I think are peculiar. One's very peculiar. That's Edgerrin Cooper. What is he doing in the first round? That's wild.
He's jumped up a lot lately, bro. He really has. A lot of people are on him thinking he's going to take over for Quay Walker. Either way, Quay's not amazing in coverage, so I think he's going to get targeted a lot. Either way.
Yeah, but even so, just an off-ball linebacker in the first round in this format, I think that's tough. That's just kind of tough.
What do you guys think about Will Anderson going before Aiden Hutchinson? I know Hutchinson got injured, but I don't want to say that's like tough, but I don't know. Just looking at it, it's like,
that's the other one I would swerve. I like him, but when there are guys who Max Crosby, don't even talk about Aiden Hutchinson. Don't even bring him up. Max Crosby went 3 picks after that.
Yeah.
I think that first round is generally chalk. Here's a post from the great Jordan Raines himself. This is usually your top 10 ADP. Of course, somebody messed up in the first round, but you usually see the Parkinsons, Hutchinsons, Watts, Garrett's, Hendricksons, Crosby's, Franklin's, Anderson. The guy you're not seeing there is Jared Verse. So Jared Verse, usually when we do enough of these drafts, you'll see him. He'll creep up in the end of the first. Any thoughts there, guys?
Yeah, he's got an ADP of 10 overall right now, and we talked a little bit about it beforehand, and there's not enough meat on the bone. I think it's a lot of projecting, a lot of forward thinking. You're like, okay, hey, he can do this. Oh, he might do this. Oh, he's got all the people around him. It's just going to happen. And I don't know. I could see like a third round or something if you're really feeling spicy, but as far as projection goes and value there, I think you're selling yourself short getting Verse in the first 2 rounds.
Yep, selling. That's my son. He's 9 years old. When somebody screws up, they call it selling. If you take Jared Verse in the first round, you are selling yourself. All right. And he's a great guy, sure. Rookie of the year. Wonderful, blah, blah, blah. To be valuable in the first round, you need 10 sacks. In this format, you need at least 10 sacks. That's what your first round pick needs to get you. Okay, and that's my opinion. And honestly, 10 sacks is the worst case scenario for your first round pick in this in this format.
Yeah.
Jared Verse got 4 sacks in. We playing 18 games a year now, 17, 18. I don't know. Yeah, if you went and watched Jared Verse play for a full month of Sundays, you might have seen a sack. Might have.
So to your point, we play 17 games now. I remember the days when coaches can just go 8-8 and call it. Now you're either a winner or you're a loser. Now you're screwed. But the dude played 17 games and he ended up with 4.5 sacks. I mean, what the hell?
That's just not enough.
The argument, the other side, and I'll kick it back to you. The argument with him is the pass rush, the pressures. But a counter, he's 78th. I looked this up today. 78th in expected sacks. And he's 96th in pass. So again, he could be getting the pressures all day long, but he's not connecting to the quarterback is the point here. If you have a 96% expected pass rush and a 78th expected sack, I throw the pass rush metrics out the window until I can actually see it in person.
Yeah. Well, and he does it in auxiliary metrics too. I mean, doesn't offer a lot of pass deflections. Doesn't offer a huge number of tackles for loss. Didn't have astronaut. I mean, he had how many quarterback hits? Not that many. These are all, they might not be sacks, but these are points that he also doesn't get, And again, he's a rookie, though. And that's my thing is like, he could have a big leap this next year. It wouldn't shock me if he had 8 to 12 sacks. But it also wouldn't shock me if he had 6 to 8 sacks. You know what I mean? And we still called that good. And he still had a bunch of pressures. And he still was a difference maker. But for fantasy, in this format, you get 10 first-round picks. It's just a really tough look for me. Like, you're just selling. You're selling if you take Jared Verse. You're basically saying, I don't want to win. That's what you're saying.
It's a Hail Mary in the first round.
Yeah. The flip side of that is if he comes out and he has, like, the most transcendent season of all time. But the thing is, that's the flip side. But the flip side of that is, it doesn't matter because everybody else took him in the first round. So it doesn't mean anything. So it ends up just negating itself across the board. Even if you win with Jared Verse, you lose.
When you go to a car dealership, I don't know about you. I'm test driving the car. I could fall in love with it, whatever. I want to see it. I want to see it on the road first. We have not yet seen Verse on the road, as opposed to the solids, Max Crosby to Myles Garrett to TJ Watts. Those guys have been the most productive players in the game. I guess people are trying to find the next greatest thing, but I'm not going to do that with a first round pick.
No. And yeah, and that's it. That's just fundamentally in this. If you want to play, if you want to draft smart, if you want to win some money, if you want to have a chance to get it back, there's a lot safer picks and picks with more upside, honestly, in my opinion. And so I like that Jared Verse is down in the second round in this draft, because all the ones that I've done, he's been in the first round, at least that I can recall. But good to see that he'll slowly kind of drop.
Mase, anything in here that you see that's out of the ordinary in that first round? I know we're kind of like over talking it. Like, do you like going elite DL over linebacker? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so I'm definitely an early round DL guy, especially having Max Crosby fall to me at 7 in this. It's like a best case scenario because you get the tackles. You know he's going to be out there every play. You had a doctor, physical therapist that you were talking to not so long ago, the one that wrote a book that said that like the last person to play on that tag that he had was like back in the early 90s. Like Max Crosby's not getting off the field unless he's like literally broken and cannot play.
The fancy sports doctor, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I always forget his name. I need to get it right because I talk about him so much on the show. But so for me, I kind of want to ask you guys a question here. We all kind of scoffed at the Edgerrin Cooper pick. Like that's just kind of, I don't know, that's like really out there projecting a lot of stuff. Zaire Franklin, though, and Zach Bond, Roquan Smith, Fred Warner, those guys are all linebackers who do normally go in the top, regardless of what IDP format you have. What are your guys' thoughts on what kind of linebacker to get, whether it's outside, inside, a guy that blitzes or plays more in coverage? What are you guys kind of going for there when you look for a guy in a draft like this?
I'll go first, I guess. I'm looking for the guy that does it all. In this format, I'm looking for somebody that's going to blitz more often than not, just because that's going to get me more points than a pass deflection. But a pass deflection is worth 4 points in this format, so that's not nothing. That's still very, very, very meaningful. In this format, that's the same as 8 assisted tackles. Okay. So you might not. So I mean, like that's a big play in this format. So I want a guy that's going to be a playmaker, which putting a pin in somebody to look at who I have to say it's time to fade, especially in this format. It looks like people kind of, well, maybe not. Roquan Smith went at 102 here. He hasn't had, since going to the Ravens, he hasn't had a season like he had when he was playing with Chicago, as far as impact plays go. Pass deflection, sacks, the boot. Tackle numbers are still super high. He's still playing an extremely high level. The numbers just aren't there like they were. So he's the one player in that group that traditionally in my head, he's like a high end, he still is for dynasty, somebody you definitely want, top 2 or 3 guy. But his impact plays 2 years now. That's, it's not, trend line needs 3 data points, but I'm not playing this third year. I'm going to take my shot and say it's going to stay in that area. And maybe if it goes up or down it's going to be pretty negligible because he's still at the Ravens. So I like Zaire Franklin. I still think he's a go-getter. He's proven that he's, can rush the passer. He can play in coverage. Roquan Smith, somebody I'm going to fade. Zach Bond, he's a good example of somebody, he had some big games because they had him rush a little bit too. So I'm looking for a guy that's going to be what Roquan Smith used to be. Let's put it that way.
So, we haven't really talked our draft strategies yet, and mine may differ from you guys. I guess we can kind of break into that in the second round. But what I like to do is I like to go early on these elite edge rushers because they're few and far between. They're good and plenty, right? But I don't want to leave myself out there for an injury or something like that. So I do want a couple of those solid linebackers, like you said, in the middle rounds. Mase. I don't see myself going after a lot of these guys, but if they fall, I'll take them. And the only rationale is my portfolio. I want to diversify my portfolio. I got a lot of high upside stuff I can boost, but I want to keep guys, I don't know, the 3 down linebackers types, to Jordan's point, guys like Frankie Lavu, guys like Caden Ellis, they're going to score phenomenal. So I don't see myself getting a Roquan Smith, a Fred Warner, a Zaire Franklin. I'm trying to get the elite DLs, and then I'll come back, kick it around the third or wherever he lands, and I'll take an Ellis or Lavu. So that's kind of my strategy on linebacker. They're volume based, but for the elite guys, I want the stats. I want the RoboCops of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's 22 linebackers I think last year that were over 1,000 snaps. And
to your point, how many deals can we target? You know what I mean? They're going to go quick. So
no, for sure they are, but at the same time, you have to understand the draft board and the way that things are going. Like Edgerrin Cooper going at 106, you're like, okay, you really got to know who's in the draft room if people are going to chase after that because I mean, we started off pretty hot and heavy here with DL, and like there's spurts of it, but pretty much after the first round, there's not a 3-run chain of DLs until the middle of the third round. So what that tells me is that people are running once you see a big position. Then you have the position runs, and then down at the bottom towards the end, people don't know who to draft, man. They don't know what to do. They're just either following ADP or like Jordan and I were talking about earlier, they're just kind of following their gut and going off of ADP, and it's kind of like a wasteland.
Well, to your point, Mase, too, when you look at the second round here, it seems like it's linebacker alley. You got what do you have there? It's a snake draft. You have 2.1 Zach Bond, 2.2 Roquan Smith, 2.3 Jared Verse, who's usually I'll take him in the second. Let me recant, not in the first. 2.4 Daniel Hunter. That's low for him. 2.5 Fred Warner. 2.6 TJ Edwards. 2.7 Andrew Van Ginkel just hanging out there, huh? And then, Jordan said 2.8 Frankie Lavu. There's good value. 2.9 Quincy Williams. And then the final pick in this round, Robert Spillane. Any thoughts there, guys?
I got a handful.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm just looking at this draft board. I can name 5 off the top of my head defensive line players that weren't even drafted in this draft that I would start taking in probably the third round. I don't see Kayvon Thibodeau on here. I don't see Montez Sweat on here. I don't see Hassan Reddick on here. And who else was I missing? There's Harold Landry's not on here. Mm-hmm. These are guys that outscored half the people on this board this last season, and 2 seasons ago and 3 seasons ago would have been top, finished top 3 and 4. So you're talking about upside picks later in drafts. These guys are still playing football, So I think some of those guys are guys that later on, if you wanted to just keep stacking defensive line players, chasing sacks, chasing turnovers, Andrew Van Ginkel, I mean, there's a guy who 2 years ago nobody knew, but because he's a sack and a turnover monster, he's going at 207 here. And seeing like Nick Bonita here at 406, give me that all day. Give me that all day. I want him on every team. He's the new Shaq Barrett. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like he's the new Hassan Reddick. It's happening. We're in the midst of it. Don't wait. Don't keep waiting. It's happening.
Hey, Mase, I was thinking about this when Jordan was talking. There's an expression called prisoner of the moment. When people are influenced like emotions or events, people are prisoner of the moment in these IDP leagues. Like when you go into a league, aren't we sort of conditioned? We're kind of brainwashed to like take the elite linebackers first. You got to look at that scoring, bud. It's not good value to waste your second round pick. Jordan just said it. There's guys like Benito just hanging out. There's guys not even taken in this draft. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts with that?
Yeah, man. I kind of get sucked into it myself just from being a traditional like tent pole drafter in normal drafts. Like I try to get one anchor at every position. So just to sit there and get 3 defensive linemen, I mean, I could have got another one and maybe another one after that. But just like inside of me, I'm like, I need a linebacker. Well, in this format, you actually don't need a linebacker. You don't need a defensive back. You don't need a defensive lineman. You can draft however, whenever, whatever way you want. So kind of breaking that mold out of my head and being like, I don't need these guys. Then I went back at the very end and was like, all right, who's my guy this year? Who do I really have a lot of stock in? That's George Karlaftis, just because of their line and the state of it and just that offense. But anyways, yeah, it's hard for me to even still do that because as you can tell, I saw Foye and I'm like, ooh, let me get it. Like Mr. Burns hands, I'm like, ooh, mine. All right, Quay Walker too, especially when Edge Cooper went in the first round. Yeah, give me that. And I'll see exactly right there. But then I'm like, all right, I need to chill. I don't need to draft another linebacker. I got to go back to what I was trying to do before. So, yeah, it is kind of hard.
Yeah. No, it's like you said, we've been conditioned, to fill needs. Oh, I have 2 running backs, a wide receiver, a quarterback. There aren't any drafts. Well, on this there is, but where it's just offensive player. You know what I mean? But this is open that up. So, like you said, in our head, it's like, oh, I can just do 6 linebackers. Oh, I can just do 6 defensive line players. Like, but should I? But then it's like, but shouldn't I? But it's like, but I don't, I don't know. I know, but I don't know that I know. It's like, so I'm with you there. I have several. Only recently, the last couple of drafts that I really, really realized that I think my strategy for this tournament is just go 6 defensive line players, just constantly, because you're gonna be playing your top 4, and if you're chasing upside, you're really in this format, you're chasing sacks, you know. And just hope that and pray that the guys that hit, you know, because every week some couple of guys hit pretty big. If you have 6 or 7, you know, if you have 6 defensive line players, you're increasing your chance of rolling one of those guys to get the big one, you know, and that's going to float you when 3 guys shit the bed, you know, because
Mace,
they're defensive line players.
This is kind of a come to Jesus moment with Jordan. Okay. Can't tell you. I told you offline how many times I've watched IDP Army on YouTube and everything. I can't tell you how many times this man would talk about Fred Warner. He loves Fred Warner. I cannot tell you how many times that I've seen him frame photos of Fred Warner. You probably have thousands of those on your Google Drive, right? So if he's telling you to fade linebackers and Fred Warner there, 2.5? Something's not right. Something's rotten in Denmark, you know?
Yeah, Fred Warner had like 7-10 pressures last year and only like 1 sack or 2, I think. So I don't know. It's kind of tough up that high, like Jordan was saying earlier. You'd like to get the linebackers that go after stuff, but I mean, I love me some Fred Warner, man. I got Niners stuff all around me right now.
I'm just happy that Fred Warner gets his guy Robert Saleh back, and they just get to bro out. And just like things are just like they used to be, bro. Like the 49ers are still pretty good, but not gonna win anything major, and life is good.
So yeah, I guess we're all different types of investors here. You guys seem to be more like boom, get your deal. You guys would be great at crypto, by the way. Just go ahead and put it out there. Me, I'm a little more close to the vest. I'm a little scared. I've played those games. I will take shots at some linebackers late, just so I have points one week, but it won't be in there, and it probably won't be the next round. When you look at round 3, you got Greg Rousseau, then you have Blake Cashman, 3.3 you got Jamie Sherwood, 3.4 Kate Nelsfeld, wow, 3.5 Alex Highsmith, 3.6 Jonathan Grenard, 3.7 Brian Burns, 3.8 Nick Bolton, and the last 2 picks were Alex Singleton and Brian Branch in this round. My eyes are bleeding. I see a lot of purple. My eyes are bleeding. I have so many thoughts in my head. I'm just going to let you guys kick it from it. Go ahead. What you got, Mace?
Fade DB no matter what format, unless it's Derwin James in the last round because they don't have a solidified linebacker.
I have a slightly different thesis, and I mostly agree except for fade DB unless it's Brian Branch or Antoine Winfield because they're dogs. No. No, but they for real. Like those guys are playing they're playing a different safety mentality position. You know what I mean? Like they're true honey badger type, like college honey badger. Honey badger in the NFL, he had some big plays, but he was never quite what he was in college. But Brian Branch and Antoine Winfield, those guys rush the passer. Those guys do catch interceptions. And they're already doing all the other stuff. And those are the 2 big plays that you're looking for in this format. And there's really only 2 defensive backs that you can count on every year to be given those opportunities. And when they get them, they succeed. And that's what you're looking for, you know. So Antoine Winfield wasn't drafted in this one. He's like I've drafted him a little more than I probably should have in this format. But it's because, like you said, last round, he's one of those guys that's usually on the board. And I'm like, there aren't any other defensive backs that are, you know, pass deflections. Those are big in this, and also could push for 4 to 5 sacks. Not saying he will, but could. You know, Todd Bowles will rush him. You know, so I like him, and I like Brian Branch just because they're just walking big plays. But they're the only defensive backs, and I'm really, really even on my radar for this particular format.
Well, those are the kind of guys that I think defensive coordinators and, you know, general managers, you get them on your team, and you realize the talent that you have and how it meshes, and then you start to build around those guys and let them do what they want. Also, like Minka Fitzpatrick kind of earlier back in the day, just letting him kind of free roam, do whatever he feels and runs. Hopefully that's what Kyle Hamilton starts to kind of feel out. I'm not really sure where they're going to have him and stuff, but just kind of that role, that tackle guy, the guy that can be in the box, out of the box, make plays outside, up top, left, right, up, down. I mean, they don't make them like that anymore, and I think the NFL is kind of going away from that tweener position as far as like DB and linebacker. I think it's more, I don't know, you look at the Eagles, they got the 2 back, and then you have Cooper DeJean at the nickel doing things there. So I don't really know the state of the defense there in the mind. I think it's altering with the passing attack that the NFL has now. I mean, we have 2 running back teams kind of coming back onto the scene a little bit, But even then, you got the receiving back that'll kind of come out of the backfield and still try to open up the field. So DBs are risky, but I do understand a few of them. But me personally, I'm probably not going to catch me 5th round before doing it. It's probably going to be a 6th round.
So I'm going to ask you, because I'm the same way what Jordan said, the Brian Branches, the Kyle Hamilton, and Antoine Winfield, who's hit or miss and sometimes doesn't get drafted if you get the ADP. But I'll take them in the last round, or if I have an early pick, I'll take them like that, that 5-point whatever when right before the turn.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't take chances early. Now, I'm going to ask Jordan this directly because I haven't heard his take on this yet. There are people right now in this universe, and you'll see them in drafts. They are doing it intentionally, and they are telling people, hey, go ahead and draft defensive backs in the first 2 rounds. Thoughts, guys?
Of
Shots
this
fired.
Of this tournament?
Yes.
And are they saying this unironically?
So I thought they were joking, and I'm listening a little bit, and I'm having these conversations. The argument is, well, if you go back and look at Sleeper the last couple of years, defensive backs score high in this format. But then I shoot back to them. If you look at the top 10 each year, it changes. It's so volatile. That's why I'm staying the hell away from defensive backs. Because to your point, Antoine Winfield was number 1 2023, but where was he last year? You know what I mean? So it's like defensive back to me is such a volatile position. I can't harness it like I could an elite DL or a linebacker. But yeah, there's people out there right now giving that as their take. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the crazy one in the room. What do you guys think?
I just don't think that's very well. I don't think that's sound advice. I went back and I wish I had written this down. I did write it down, but it's not on any of the hundreds of pages of notes I have in front of me, of course. But I went down and so I did what you said. I went back and I looked at the top 12 for the last 3 years just to see how the finishes were. Every single year it was defensive line, linebacker, and DBs were the bottom. Now, some years it was like 4 DBs, 6 linebackers. It was kind of close, but it was always essentially that. So then I went back and I did the same thing again, but I did top 24 just to see again, so I could get a little bit more of a larger sample size, then maybe get some percentage is. And that's kind of how I ended up with that tweet you were talking about before, like 64 2020, because essentially in the top 24 in this scoring format over the last 3 seasons, the top 60%, it was over, and that was over half of the top 24 scorers were defensive line players. And then it broke up basically about half and half between defensive backs and linebackers. Defensive backs being there was less repeat guys in defensive back. It was Antoine Winfield, and then that was pretty much it, the only guy that repeated. But there were, some other defensive backs. But then the linebackers, there was a handful of guys that repeated a couple of years. But predominantly, top 24 players, over 60%-ish of them were defensive line players. And that's kind of where I landed on this theory where it's like, just take all defensive line players, because that's what's going to be over 3 years, the last 3 years. That's what's been the highest concentrated position in this tournament. So that, scoring wise. So that to me made sense to just load up on that position, especially if other people are, trying to balance their team or even go linebacker heavy. That means that they're not taking more guys that are going to be in the top 24. So I can just pluck them, like the Nick Bonitos, a 14.5 sack guy. You're able to get 2 rounds after a 4.5 sack guy like Jared Verse. So there's so much value to be harvested in this draft and in this format right now. But yeah, like you said, just doing the research. And I didn't see a single season where a defensive back finished in the top 3 overall. I think the first defensive back usually came in around like 6 or 7 when he grouped as the whole group. So even in that sort of mindset, it's like it makes more sense to take a defensive line or even a linebacker.
I just feel when you're taking a DB high, it's like card. If I don't know if you guys play spades, but in the military played spades a lot. All right, you're gonna drop your spades. Okay, I'll just do a higher spade. So go ahead and put your DB down. Go ahead and put your DB down. I'm just gonna take one of these elite Nick Bonito types or what have you. Alex Highsmith, who I think is gonna have a good breakout year, a comeback season. Question for you. Oh, good.
Let me hit something real quick. All right, so I was just looking at the total ADP list. I could be wrong because much deeper players, but with the 2.2 roster percentage of ownership based on this entire tournament, there are only 102 players drafted. So in the top 100, we have Branch with a rank of 26, Hamilton 43, Derwin James 52, JOK, who just got announced he was out for the year, is 57, right? You got Winfield at 58, McKinney 68, Newbin at 72, Julian Love at 82, Jesse Bates at 92. I know that's your boy, Steve. And then Nick Emanuori, who we don't even know if he's going to be starting half the season or in like a full-time role. You're right. I saw your eyes, Jordan. 100%. That's where my brain is. I'm like, bro, what? Like, so no one really knows anything at this point. Like, there's still a handful of defensive backs that you could go on, anyone can go on PFF and click pressures and look at last year and be like, wow, there's 7 more defensive backs who could possibly tear the lid off here. So I don't know, especially with only 60 players being drafted every draft, to have such a consolidated pool right now of players that have not even been drafted. I think that's insane because there's going to be a lot of players outside that 102 that are going to be higher depending on a week-to-week basis. So
exactly what you're saying right there is, why would I take Brian Branch when I can get Xavier McKinney at my last every single time as my last pick? And the difference between them is only going to probably be a few points. And there's a non-zero chance, maybe a good chance, that he finishes higher than Branch. I get what you're saying. So it doesn't make sense to draft a defensive back high when they level out pretty quick, the good ones, and they're pushed down the draft. I get what you're saying 100%. And that's just another reason why I don't think drafting a defensive back in the first 2 rounds of this makes any sense. Yeah. And I think, honestly, and like I said, the optimal strategy, especially when people are drafting like this, is just to keep loading up with as many defensive line players as you can, just because you're chasing the upside.
On that note, I'm going to read the 4th round. I have 2 questions for both of y'all, okay? Outside of Nick Benito, because he should not be there, who is the value pick that you like here? And then also, maybe you guys could unveil your draft strategies, okay? Let me read the 4th round here. 4th round, Trevon Walker. Then 4.2 would be Terrell Bernard. 4.3, Jalen Carter. 4.4, Foye Oluokun. 4.5, Nick Benito. Okay, he's the patch. Can't use him because we talked him enough, right? Next player, Azeez Al-Shaair. Next player, Deion Henley. Next player, Josh Hines-Allen. Next player, Abdul Carter. And the final player would be Ernest Jones. So this is the 4th round. I'm sure at this point we're all stacking DLs. We start to see people's strategies in place. Who do you like? Who's your value this round, and what's your strategy?
I like Josh Hines-Allen. He's one of my guys. I liked a couple years back. I used to talk about him when I was with the IDP Army all the time, man. And then he finally had that year, and then last year he kind of dropped off a little bit. You can't always predict the sacks. I think the thing's there. They brought back Walker, but in that round, I definitely have Josh Allen over Walker. But I also drafted Foye Oluokun. There's a lot of Jaguars in that round.
Yeah, ain't that something? I'm with you with the Josh Hines-Allen. I've always kind of liked him. To your point, his sack total did decrease, but he was recording everything that I like. Look, I like to look at win pass rush rate, 15.9%. PFF had an 82.7. That's 13th amongst the edge, whatever. But you're right. Sacks are going to go up and down. So I guess for you, Mase, by the 4th round, you're still cutting DLs? You're still doing that?
Oh, 100%, but I'm not cutting Abdul Carter. I've not seen it done. He's in a rotation. He's a rookie. Like, that's having Allen go after Carter, for me personally, that's a slam dunk. It makes it look so much better.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about rookies in this one, Jordan. I'll ask you the same thing. I don't know how I feel about it personally. There's an old I'm from up north. I'm from Philadelphia area. So there's an old expression my nanny used to say, 1 in a hand is better than 2 in the bush. Okay, well, I know what Josh Allen can do. I know what Brian Burns can do. I know what Jonathan Grenard can do. I have no idea what a rookie's going to do. He can be the next I don't know if you guys remember Vernon Golston. Jared Verse. I don't know if you remember Vernon Golston. That was a bust. And Clowney was a bust his first couple of years. He made it up. But I don't want to take the chance in something it's like that Family Guy episode with the mystery box. It could be anything in here. I don't want to have nothing to do with anything. I want solid, especially when we only got 60 players to take here.
Yeah, and we're not saying that Carter's going to be bad. That's not what it is. This is a cash money contest. You only have 6 players. So you want to get the guys that have the most upside, the guys that have the most production, and the guys that have done it and will continue to do it, not only just for fantasy, but for their teams, guys that their coaches rely on and things like that. So just going with a rookie, especially in the 4th round, and a rookie at all in this kind of contest is just lunacy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of silly. And as to your first question, who is probably the best pick in this round? I agree with Mase. For me, it's Josh Allen. And if I was going to go with the other one, it would be Foy Oluokun, just because we've seen the high level production from both those guys in the past. Oluokun, a little injury situation this year, so can't really hold that against him over much. He did come back, and I mean, he didn't look didn't look too worse for the wear. Just didn't get that full season and didn't really get to have that opportunity to shine like he had the last couple of seasons, fully healthy. But Josh Allen, like you said, we've seen him do it. We've seen him have a couple, good years, but he had that one great year. Was it 14 and a half sacks, or was it 16 and a half or something?
It was definitely up there.
It was really, really good, and we've known he could do that. So, if something happens once, it can happen again. It's more likely to happen again. That's our new ceiling for Josh Allen is very high. You know what I mean? And he could exceed that, but even if he gets back there, it's good. Even if he gets
See,
a little lower than that, it's still going to be pretty good. This last year, like you said, it was a pretty big fall off, but I think that, that's what you're looking for in the fourth round here. Again, you want an upside player, and to me, he represents the most upside outside of who we mentioned earlier, Nick Benito. But
I think
to
your point and Amace's point, because it seems like we're all on that same wavelength of Wild West. We're gonna go after our DLs, right? If I'm 4 rounds deep with DLs, what if none of them get a sack that week, Mase? What if all of them get? So I want at least something in the gas tank. I want something in there. So, let me get something. So I think in here is where I start looking, like Jordan said, why the heck is Felice Oluokun down here? Why is Levante David so late? I mean, there's guys in this next round. Bobby Wagner. What do we have? Ageists? Are they ageists? Are they just afraid of people because they have age? These guys are quite good. I just seen somebody drafted JOK. I'm not even going to entertain that. Somebody timed out is what they did. But, I think in the last couple rounds, I'm looking at the linebackers. The last 2 rounds, I guess we can do together. We'll just do them together, see what you like, don't like. Maybe you guys have, your own favorite, guy in round 6 you're taking. I'll just read them to you. Bobby Wagner goes 5.1, and then Alex Anzalone, followed by Kyle Hamilton, DeForest Buckner, Levante David, Leonard Williams, Quay Walker, Dexter Lawrence, Jordan Brooks. I'm not even going to say that name. We'll skip it. And then Matt Milano, Logan Wilson, Jeremy Simmons, George Karlaftis, Nakobe Dean, Buda Baker, Josie Jewell, Bobby Wagner. Oh, I said Bobby O'Connor. Okay, sorry. So Bobby Wagner here, Jack Campbell, Derwin James. Last 2 rounds of your draft, who you shooting for? Who you gunning for?
Mase, you go first.
Yeah. So I fell into that linebacker kind of deal here, and I was like, I need to grab one more just in case. I'm kind of rethinking that strategy now, thinking maybe I need to risk it for the biscuit, get those higher points with stacks. But I don't know. Maybe Quay Walker becomes unhinged and goes and does his own thing. I don't know. A lot of defensive tackles here. I don't know if that's the route that I would go. I think I'd rather have a linebacker, but I don't know. Anything kind of goes here. You get the usual suspects in Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James, Buda Baker, right out there. Matt Milano's interesting. Logan Wilson's nice because he's like interception king for linebackers for like 3 out of the last 4 years, I think, or something like that. So the deflections that Jordan was alluding to earlier, you guys said 4 points, I think, for one of those. That's pretty nice there. Nice little tip to cap. Can't get a sack, you get him somewhere else, right? So finding the value in that, especially in the 6th round, if he stays healthy, he's going to be on the field because he's got the dot, right? There are questions looming, I think, with that locker room as far as linebackers go, but Logan Wilson's name is not the one in question. Nakobe Dean as well, kind of on thin ice there. I don't know if I'd want him or the rookie John Campbell. Not really sure what's going on. He did kind of fall when he was drafted originally and fell right into the Eagles' lap, and he's had his times, but injuries and other things. Not really sure what they're doing there. So, I don't know. I just think in the last round, I kind of hit it with the old school 1-1 combo just to kind of round out my team and keep it even. And I stayed true to my no defensive back policy, and I stand by that.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I like your team a lot. 4 defensive lines and 2 linebackers, 2 good linebackers. Yeah, that's a solid team. As for the rest, so my favorite pick probably in this round, in the fifth round here. That's right? Yeah, fifth round.
Mhm.
I kind of like Jordan Brooks. Another linebacker. I like Levante David too, but I know it is ageist. I'll just be honest, just ageistism, I guess. I would,
Dynasty syndrome.
I would be fine taking him, but I think Jordan Brooks is just one of these players that there's a little fatigue around. I think he's done some good things with pass deflections. He's done some good things getting some sacks and getting a few quarterback hits here and there. So he does those things along with the tackle numbers. So if you're looking to buoy somebody in your team for this round, I kind of like that pick. I still would have probably taken a defensive line player personally. And then the last round, man, I was kind of thinking I like Nakobe Dean. Again, I know all these defensive line players, but there's not really a lot to choose from. But he had a pretty good season. He kind of broke out this last year in a way that I kind of definitely didn't see coming. And it was, through impact plays, which is kind of what I'm always looking for. So if I'm going to go for a linebacker or a defensive back, it's going to be somebody that I'm not even looking at a player's tackle numbers for this format. I do not care if you get 90 tackles or you get 160 tackles. I care if you can get 18 of a combination of sacks, tackles for losses, and pass deflections. If you can get 18 between those, 6, 6, and 6, somehow that's going to compensate for any number of random assisted tackles you may have racked up in some, fourth quarter ass kicking you were involved in.
Also, one thing I want to point out, guy that went 102, he got Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell. Normally you see one guy go before the other.
Yeah, what's
kind of
going
pick your
on?
poison. Do you guys have any thoughts on stacking players, especially linebackers in a format like this?
I love that. I think that's smart.
But I'm not a fan of it. I'm not knocking it. Go right ahead. You know what, Jordan? Somebody who's going to win this thing's probably going to do that, or they're going to have a healthy team, or they're going to figure out the booster thing. So I'm not.
No, they're going to stack, like you said. Because defensive plays begat defensive plays, and that's always been that was always when I was deep in this stuff. That was always my biggest pitch for IDP. It's not just a quarterback throwing to a guy and he catches it and that's it. In defense, you can have two guys can hit the quarterback at the same time. So there's two defensive players that have already picked up a point. Now they can each get half a sack. Okay, so there's two guys, something crazy's happening. Then they can, let's just say they don't get the sack. Let's say that they still throw it, right? You get two quarterback hits for two players. Okay, now the ball's in the air. Somebody tips it. That guy's getting 3 points. And guess what? The guy behind him just catches it, takes it right in the breadbasket, and takes it to the house. So now 4 players on defense have accumulated a total of 15 arbitrary points, have been distributed between 4 different defensive players. That doesn't happen on offense. So I love stacking defensive players. One of my favorite things to do the last few years has been stack Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, and Alex Highsmith on the same teams. Didn't work out always this year, with some injuries, but a couple of years ago, that stack was like hitting. I mean, they would just one of them would blow a play up, and it didn't matter who it was because they were all there and the ball's out. Somebody's grabbing it, somebody's doing something. It was just like that begats more action. So I love the Anzalone Jack Campbell stack. I'm kind of into that. You don't have to decide which one. If one has a big game, one forces the fumble, one picks it up, one takes it to the house. You get the guy that took it to the house. The other guy can sit on the bench this week because it's best ball. We're proud of you for forcing the fumble, but guess what? That guy's the one who got it, and he was on your team. So I kind of like that mentality of it.
When Jordan was talking, Mase, I was thinking about this too because I only get 6 spots. I don't think I want to plug 2 linebackers. It's not wrong, but again, it's just strategy. You might have a better strategy than me. It's like playing Monopoly. It's like trying IDP leagues and scoring. You can tell there's a lot of noobs in this draft, so we were just kind of going around. But IDP scoring in general, you ever try to teach your league mate scoring or fundamentals of scoring? It's like trying to teach calculus to a cat. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's going to be confusing. It's going to be mildly traumatic for everybody involved. So just don't do it. Go in there and go pick your players, take your shots. What Jordan said is correct. It's smart. It briefs well. Like we used to say in the military, it briefs well. I'm probably not going to do it because I want some solid 3 downs and some elite. But in the 5th, 6th round, you can't go wrong. You know what I mean? You can't go wrong. Just do your calculus on somebody who's going to pick it up. That's all I have.
No, yeah, and like you said, and we're still learning. This is the first year this league, this tournament's been around. So we're gonna have this time next year. We'll have more data. You know what I mean? We'll be able to diagram and dissect, a full version. But like you said, we're kind of in uncharted territory. So there's certain things that sound good now, maybe bad. Certain things that sound like they're silly now might have been the right. I mean, like watch the winner be a 6 defensive back team, just some guy who happened to get the top 3 of the top 4 interception leader. I mean, just, and we will just be like, yeah, here we are. This is fantasy football. This is what we came for, just to gnash our teeth and throw things at the wall.
But to your point, though, whoever wins this thing, like A, they're going to be injury free. B, they're going to master the boosters. C, they're going to have incredibly luck in some breakout season as somebody. So, like I said, we're like fishermen now. We're trying to plan the right bait, the right location. But whoever catches that fish, it's going to be some random luck.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on the boosters, guys? Do you guys have any thoughts on how you're going to do that? I wanted to ask you that as well.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, just like you said, the random luck, and that kind of circles back around to like that last round, go for that lucky hit, that sack, it kind of begets that. It really is just all luck. That's kind of why I like going for those defensive line players. But yeah, the boosters, I don't know, Mace. What are your thoughts? Because I've spent an hour or so fiddling with it with my different teams, and I'll just say this. I've tried to make my teams to where if I have a couple of teams with the same player, I do different boosters for him on different teams, just so I kind of don't, if he doesn't do great, I don't have him in all of my 2x spots. You know what I mean?
Yep.
On a different team, he's in like my 1.5 spot, and somebody else, just so there's I'm able to kind of compensate, hedge for a bad week or whatever. That's kind of how I've been approaching it. Just trying to add it to my top end guys who I think it is. And then if I have 3 or 4, like I have a lot of Max Crosby. So I have like 2 teams with him as the main guy, but then I want to put him as my main for all of them. But I'm like, no, I've played enough fantasy football to know that's not smart. Even if it hits, it's going to be the best.
Right. That parlay, baby. That's 7.
Yeah, all in. I'm all in.
No, I don't know. It's hard. Like you were saying, I think it alters with every team that you have. So like with your whole portfolio and having players, it tells you they're 10% rostered or, whatever is the case. But all right. So like, for instance, this team that I have, I got Hendrickson, Hunter, Spillane, Bernard, Walker, and Karlaftis. So I'm thinking that I want to go and hit on the big sack weeks or whatever. So maybe I try to start and do that. Now, if it does hit for me, I can either push that and keep doing that, or I could be like, well, the NFL is going to switch over. There's different matchups. Maybe I need to flip over because Spillane might get more targets this game and then go for that. But I'm telling you right now, bro, if I hit like Danielle Hunter and Hendrickson on 2 sack games, I'm not taking the boosters off of them. I'm just going to let it ride because I don't really have any data or anything to go off of. So I think it's going to be different for every team, and I'm going to have to sway it like waves and on the ocean. But I think for the most part, I'm just going to stick with my big play guys, the guys that I drafted early that I think are going to be putting out points, like a Max Crosby who gets you the tackles and the sacks, putting it higher on them at first, and then maybe seeing if there's one of the guys that I drafted at 5 or 6 that have a breakout season, hopefully, fingers crossed, right? And then maybe start sliding the booster, maybe not the 2, but like the 175 or the 150, sliding that over to them and see what happens.
So I've been diversifying my portfolio, and I know everybody keeps saying this because we don't know. There's no data. I've been kind of diversifying in different ways, different teams, different strategies, different players. I'm just going to say, I guess a word on how I feel about this. Linebacker, safest for boosting. DL, boom or bust. DB, risky as heck. I'm not doing it. So that's kind of my thoughts right now. That's what I've been doing. If I have a safe play linebacker, I only did that once or twice. Most of the time, I'll do DL exclusively, hoping that my guys hit, and I have a Nick Benito, Andrew Van Ginkel kind of season. But I'm doing it different ways, different teams. I'm trying to tweak it. Like Jordan said, we'll know by next year. We'll know how to do this. But there's a little bit of luck involved, and much as to Isos fantasy football.
Hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So real quick, before we round this thing out, I wanted to talk about some positional battles. We talked about Anzalone and Jack Campbell, and you just said throw them both on the field. Just some quick hits, really quick, just get both of your guys' opinions. So we already talked about Anzalone and Campbell, but if you had to pick one, who would you rather have?
Ooh.
Because Anzalone was injured last year, right? He only played like 10 or 11 games. Campbell kind of got the node, but I think Campbell only finished with like 3 more pressures.
This question's not fair. This question.
Why are you doing this to us on a podcast?
Just because, well, hey, we're all in the space. We all have different mindsets, and I know it's going to end up being 2v1 every single time.
I want both of them. I want both of them.
Okay.
I want both.
What about
I will say this. When Alex Anzalone first came out, like back in the day, we used to trash him. We're like, oh, he's a bad player because he played from the weak side. When they moved him to inside, he was the green dot guy. That's when we started realizing the last 2 years, apology letters. Hey, I'm sorry about it. Jack Campbell, he came into. So I guess what it comes down to is team scheme. And that's a cliche we say all the time. It comes down to team scheme and how they play out. Whoever the guy's the center of the field, that's the one I want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for fantasy, if pure fantasy, just the numbers, I want Anzalone. He also has like crazy aura, like his hair and like the eye thing.
Baby Hawk.
The whole bit. He's just like he's that guy. So Jack Campbell's still, he's still a little bro. He's only 2 years in. I think he has first 100 tackle season. He's a little bro. So I like him, but I think Anzalone's the guy. So I would go Anzalone. But I think I have for my actual dynasty rankings, I definitely have Campbell ahead, but it's only because that's like, it's popular.
Dynasty. Yeah.
Like you said, Anzalone, even when he's been good, it's been like, I don't really want him, but it's like, dude, it's only because, like you said early on, it was like you have those bad tastes in your mouth. You're like, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Battle of LB2, just because I'm a Niner fan, I want to know, would you rather have D. Winters aside of Fred Warner, or would you rather have rookie third-round pick Nick Martin? And with that said, would you either consider either of those guys in a contest like this?
None. Neither. Not in the top 60 when that's all I have. The thing with it is, who's the better player? Dynasty, I want Nick Martin, but redraft, it may be D. Winters, because we've seen historically the last 3-4 seasons, linebacker rookies don't just come in and play. Look what Jack Campbell, I think Quay Walker's the last guy we've seen get drafted in day one. He's a starter. So with linebackers is always a growing pain.
I'm just gonna exact same answer too. I think that especially with the Niners, we're gonna have to feel it out with them. So I don't want to put too much stock in either one of them right now. And if I have to, I'm gonna go with the veteran.
Yeah. Okay. So pair here, 2 guys for the Steelers. One was very well touted last year, and I'm surprised that he hasn't really popped up a lot in a contest like this. Patrick Queen and then Peyton Wilson. Are you guys buying the dip on either one of those guys? Is Wilson going to make the jump? What are you guys thinking?
I know what Jordan's going to say because I've seen his show. Remember I said about Fred Warner? He loves Patrick Queen. He loves it. He's got posters in his with those fat heads. He got them all in his house. Patrick Queen, historically, he's a below average tackler. I know people are going to get drugged when I say this, but he really is. Patrick Queen excels when he's the little brother, when he's got a Roquan Smith and something next to him. We're seeing that now that Roberts is out. We're seeing that Peyton Wilson is moving in. And he's starting to make noise. It's going to be Wilson long-term. Queen's just in there occupying rent and space for right now. But I know a lot of people love Patrick Queen. Be mindful of that. But, yeah, I wouldn't use either one in this tournament. It's too small.
Patrick Queen has that LSU, 2019, 2020 bump. All those guys were so cool. The whole class got drafted or whatever, the whole team, I don't know. So he's one of those guys. So he's always going to have a spot. And there'll always be some coach out there in the NFL that's like, hey, we got a place for you. Right now it's on the Steelers. I don't think he's going to be on the Steelers very much longer. I think Peyton Wilson's an up-and-comer. I think he's the future at the middle linebacker position. And like you said, I think he's going to quickly big bro Patrick Queen. And Patrick Queen's a talented linebacker, but like you said, me, like the stats, if you put the numbers up there, if you look at most linebackers that we consider really good, and you look at a couple other linebackers we consider really good, their numbers are quite noticeably lower. The real data is lower. So it is what it is.
Mase, you said Jordan's favorite players. You might as well say the third one. He loves Fred Warner. He loves Patrick Queen. He always talks about Jabril Peppers. Bring that up, too, while you're at it. Give me a Jabril Peppers question.
I was going to say Trey Sermon. Nah.
Yeah, that's my guy, Trey Sermon.
No.
My other guy for a while was Deshaun Watson. I was all in on Deshaun Watson that first year that he went to the Browns. I was like, oh, he's gonna be so good.
I mean,
I have one
unforeseen
league.
things, right?
I have a home league that's been going on like 20 years now, 21 years. Like, it's all show my age. I went all in on Watson. I don't usually say this, and I can't believe I'm putting it on air, but I'm like, that's gonna work. And I gave up so many picks. I'm still paying for it, mind you. Let's just put it like that.
The number of trade offers that I rejected for Watson whenever he was, because I think I drafted him when he was still on Houston, and then he got traded to the Browns. I turned down so many trade offers. I was like, he's gonna be so good. I'm gonna run my dynasty team's gonna be so good for the next 5 years, blah, blah, blah. And here I am 5 years later, and I'm still struggling at quarterback, fellas. One poor decision to put that jackass on my team was compounded into about 50 other opportunities just wasted. And I'm doing the same thing right now with Justin Fields, who's kind of been a landmine on my team. And I had an offer from somebody for Justin Fields because I think he's going to be the savior of the Jets or the Giants. He's on Jets.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I need to trade him away, but I just don't do it. And I'm like, you did this exact same thing with Deshaun Watson. Every time you were giving it out, you said, no, thanks. I'll just sit over here and fucking ruin this team.
All right. Last one here. You guys remember the old show on MTV, Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Celebrity Deathmatch style. What linebacker room is better and will top the other one? Is it going to be the Rams with Landman, Speets, or Reader, or the Raiders with Devin White, Landon Roberts, formerly Steeler, and Tommy Eichenberg? Who you got there?
Well, I mean, Devin White, what's he going to do? Bring crutches on the field? He'll be injured by week 2. Who else? Landon Roberts? Come on now. And I don't know. Either one's kind of flim. I guess the Ram. Can we bring the rookies in?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the crazy thing is some of these guys are going to be put up.
King of the Ring, Sean Dolan. Mark that.
Coming in from the
we're going Celebrity Deathmatch style. I'm going Raiders. They're the guy. I mean, they have nothing to lose. They're gonna give it everything they got. I think the Rams are a little like when I think of what would be the right way to say this? Like the snobbiest team in the NFL. Like just like we're better than everybody. Like the kids who went to private school, it's the Rams.
Community. Yeah.
It's like the Rams. They're just like we're better than everybody. Like we go to the Hamptons on the weekends and we don't have to win the Super Bowl to go to the White House. They just seem like that. That's like the Rams is that franchise. It's like, yeah, we get it. You're fucking better than everybody. We get it. You're great. Like, we get it. You're so legendary. You're the city of LA and blah, blah, blah. We under Sean McVay. So, man, we get it. You're great. So give me the Raiders, man. Let's get dirty in there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. I feel like if someone in like this fast draft format, because as these things go on and rumors start to kind of spur and you get training camp and stuff going, like this contest closes on September 4th. So we've still got a lot of time before, the final.
We're gonna shut this thing out before then. They're gonna have to start double because it's already over a third of the way full.
Yeah.
I think we'll shut it down.
Yeah. I think if you can nail kind of the coffin or a nail in the coffin as far as which person is going to lead that linebacker room, I feel like, I don't know, you're not going to have a lot of people that are going for guys like that. So if you can nail one down in like the 6th round, it might kind of help you out. But
and if I may, Mase, it's so neat, like logging on there. Oh, I got 5 minutes before I got to go back to work, right? It's so neat seeing people I haven't seen in years. We see Jordan on there, ask him to come on. We've seen this. It's so neat. All we are is an extension of one another. And this best ball put us all back together, this community. So it's just fun to see y'all with your different strategies and growing.
100%, man. This has been super fun. Thanks for having me on. And you're right. Like when I got in there, it's a big world and it's a big internet and it's a big fantasy football community, but it's also a small fantasy football community. It's big and it's small. Like I don't want to undersell by any means, but at the same time, it's like we know each other. We've been around for 10, 15 years now. I mean, you guys much longer, right. Some of you guys. So, I mean, yeah, we've seen each other. We know each other. We're watching the same football games. We're talking. I mean, we're doing the same stuff. So it is really, really cool to see IDP kind of get a little bit of what's been coming to it for a while, because it's deserved a contest like this and recognition like this, even though it's still small and it's still it's not underdog. It's not. It doesn't matter. it's real, it's happening.
It's the only place you can do it.
Yeah, and people are playing it, and people want to, and it's intriguing. And I honestly, in the unspoken underlying current of this is, I think people to a certain degree are kind of just bored with the way like the general fantasy football, the cycle. We've been through the cycle, guys. We know the season, and it's just it gets kind of redundant to hear the same conversations, hear the same sort of stuff, and it's just recycled, and it's just getting stale to a degree. Like the ballers, I remember when they were fresh and they were cool and it was popping, and it's like that's been a minute. That's been a decade. I mean, I'm looking at my watch. It's been a decade, y'all. Like the people are changing. The world's changing.
Yeah.
Fantasy football is changing, you know what I mean? And it's good to see that actually happening, and it speaks to good things in the future, I think.
Well said.
Yeah.
Mase, if I can, I just want to put out a promotion. I know normally we promote each other's stuff, but Jordan's got something going on right now. It's a $50 match. Promo code IDP Army. Download the darn app. Start playing with us if you like talking IDP. Again, so many people are out there just connecting on each other. Type in IDP Army, put $50 down, you get a $50 match. I don't know too many other places that'll do that sort of thing. So check it out. But that's all I got, guys. You guys got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, man, hit us up, slide in the DMs, let's talk football. We're in a numerous amount of chats, Discords, Facebook, all kinds of stuff, man. So if you're trying to get your toes wet or anything, come to one of us and we'll put you on the road. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank Jordan for being here, man, popping your head in. Hopefully we can get you back and talk, mid-season, end of season, kind of get thoughts, your whole, process and everything. Because I was telling Steve before the show, and I've even said it to you, man, you're one of the best minds in the game. I mean, not only did you come up with one of the best forms of basic scoring in my mind, when I'm trying to get people into the game, I'm like, right, let's play 1, 2, 3. Then like Steve said, after a couple of years or 1 year, you can expand it, you can bring it down almost like an accordion, but it has a nice baseline so that people can kind of integrate it with the offense, and that's what it is. So I want to appreciate you for your time, and hopefully we see you back.
Thanks, man, and you guys too. I mean, all hats off to you guys. Like I said, I kind of have stepped back a little bit, but like I told you before I came on air, it's because I know that the good people are here now, and good people have picked it up, and that good things are happening. So it's a good feeling, to not have to necessarily, be laying in bed at night wondering if my IDP baby's gonna make it. I know it is. It's thriving out here. So, and that's in no small part to you two, and the RPO guys, and just everybody, even the guys that we all bash heads, we all got ego. I mean, we're humans, you know what I mean? But everybody's doing something, maybe we're doing a little different, but the more people that are doing it, getting more people involved and active, I mean, it's iron sharpens iron, so thank you so much for having me on, and thanks for keeping the IDP fire roaring, man. Both of you guys.
Pleasure is all mine. And like you said, good people are out here. This is the IDP podcast. Take care, everybody, and talk hard.